boulot. Well, hello, welcome everyone. I am thrilled to be here today in La Costa del Sol with all of you at dreamOlé. We are here to celebrate a day of learning, a day of being together, and of course, a day of fun, and maybe a little into the weekend as well. The organizers have planned an excellent day for you today. There are a lot of sessions that are going to show you in-depth content. There are workshops. You're going to be able to get enhanced experience. There are a lot of technical talks as well. For my chat today, it's not going to be technical, but it is going to be on a topic that some people say is sometimes more complicated than technology. What could it be? People. So today I'm going to talk to you all about the community that we are all a part of, the community that dreamOlé is a part of, and the Trailblazer community, which can be something that you take with you after dreamOlé. But I want to start off by saying thank you to each and every one of you. You being here today ensures that events like dreamOlé continue to prosper, but not only prosper, also grow and continue to expand. It wasn't too long ago that community conferences did not exist at all. They started off as a wild but really smart idea that a community group leader had. He wanted to bring Dreamforce to his local region. He didn't know if it was going to work, but it ended up being a huge success, and there are now over 30 community conferences like dreamOlé. And I also want to thank those of you here today. You might be the admins in your companies. Maybe you're the only admin in a huge organization. Or maybe you're developers who solve really complex problems, or you make repetitive tasks a thing of the past with code. Or maybe you're the people that inspire others. Maybe you drag your friends or your coworkers or your family here to events like this so they can also get into Salesforce. I want to thank you because Salesforce is a great company. It does have great products. It does have a great platform. But it's all of you that create with Salesforce. Salesforce wouldn't be great without you. So thank you. And with so many bright people in the room today, I wanted to encourage you all to be generous with your time, be generous with the connection that you help others make. And I know that this group is not shy. I've seen you all, so I know that this is going to be very easy. But here's what we're going to do. If you are in an odd event or an odd row, so you're row 1, row 3, row 5, and so on, turn around behind you to someone that you've never met before and introduce yourselves. You can use some of these questions, you can talk about where you've been before, and let's go. Okay, and if you have not switched yet, go ahead and switch so the other person can introduce themselves. All right, about 30 more seconds. See, I knew you were all chatty. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, so while you're wrapping up your introductions, while you're wrapping up your conversation, this is great. I'm actually really happy. Keep doing this. Okay, let's bring it back. That was great. Thank you. See, I told you this was not a shy group, so definitely keep doing this throughout the conference. I'm also going to introduce myself. It's only fair, and I'm also here to make connections with all of you. My name is Sofia Mata. I am originally from Mexico, but I've lived in California and the United States for a large part of my life. Most recently in San Francisco, where our beautiful Salesforce Tower is located. If we ever have you visit, feel free to look me up. I can show you the Ohana floor and give you a tour, so you're always welcome. As a community manager for Salesforce for the Trailblazer community, I've been really lucky to attend a lot of community events. Some of them include community group meetings, like the one this Wednesday that the Malaga developer group threw. Are the leaders here? Yes? No? Maybe later? Well, it was a great meeting. Hopefully someone can tell them later. And also a lot of community conferences. Gotten the chance to attend Texas Dreaming. Has anyone been to Texas Dreaming? Okay. What about Punta Dreaming? Yes! What about Midwest Dreaming? Okay. What about Witness Success? Okay. What about dreamOlé? Hey! And my last fun fact, my favorite movie is The Lion King. And I know what you're probably thinking to yourself, am I excited? Yes, I'm excited for the new movie. Who wouldn't be excited for Beyonce to be in a movie? She's great. But you know, I'm also a little nervous. The new trailer just came out. They made Scar a little different, so I don't know. Talk to me at Dreamforce. We'll see how I feel then. So today we're going to talk about the communities that we have all been a part of. That's going to help us define what a community is. And I'm going to put some structure to that. So I'm going to talk about what a community is versus what a community is not. And that's going to give us a solid foundation to talk about the Trailblazer community, which is something that we are all a part of. And to wrap things up today, I'm going to talk about one differentiator that I found that runs deep in the Trailblazer community. So that's the question. What is a community? So community is a word that has been used a lot in recent years. It's been used by companies and organizations in their mission statements and their values on their websites. It's also a way that they refer to customers and consumers because it sounds a little nicer than being called a customer, right? You're a community member. But not all of these groups are using the word community in the way that I think of it as a community manager. So let's think of it in another way. What is one of the first communities that we all become a part of? We're actually born into it. So our families are one of the first communities that we're a part of. It's our mother, our father, maybe our mothers, our fathers. It could be our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, uncles, aunts. Maybe that uncle that was twice removed, but he still comes over to dinner, so he's still family. Regardless of how complicated or simple your family is, this is one of the first examples that we have of forming relationships and maintaining relationships. But what comes after that? So I thought to make this point, I would share with you all some of the communities that I joined when I was younger. And as I go through these examples, I want you to think about some of the groups that you're a part of, and also start thinking, you know, what are those communities based on? Are they based around an interest, around relationships, or maybe a professional setting? But in order to do this, we need to go back in time. We need to go back to the early 2000s. So hold on to your seat, hold on to the friend that you just made in the introduction, because we're about to go back in time, okay? Whew, okay, early 2000s, we have a Super Nintendo. Did anyone here have a Super Nintendo growing up? Yes, I still have mine, it still works. So my family and I, we moved to the United States, and back then I understood English pretty well. I could write it, I could read it, but speaking it was a whole other story. I was really bad at it. All the Americans that I met would speak very, very quickly, and they could tell that I had an accent. So making friends back then was really hard. But luckily for me, even though there was a language barrier, there were things that I enjoyed doing. The first one was reading. I loved reading. I think one of the first all-nighters, it wasn't, you know, partying, like having some sangria or anything. It was reading Lord of the Rings. I know, party hard. But that was something that you did by yourself, right? The second thing that I really enjoyed to do was play video games. My older sister and I would play Donkey Kong Country. I don't know if anyone's played that game. Yes. We played all of them, the first, second, and third ones. And this was something that I carried over with me when I moved. Well, since we're in the early 2000s, around this time, the Nintendo 64 came out. So where before you had 2 controllers, so only 2 people could play, now you could have 4 people play. And all of a sudden, I was the most popular person in the neighborhood because I had the Nintendo 64. And people wanted to play Super Mario, Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Super Smash Brothers. And all of a sudden, it didn't matter if my English wasn't so great, if I was a little different from them, because we were all friends. We had a common interest that we shared. Around the same time, there's also this thing called AOL, America Online, and there was instant messaging. And within instant messaging, there were these chat rooms that you could join by category. Games happened to be one of them. So before, where I only had this group of people within my surroundings, it had now expanded online. So I could talk to anyone all over the world, and they didn't just want to play games, they actually wanted to talk about them. So we would talk about things like, for The Legend of Zelda, if anyone's played it, we'd try to figure out what timeline is Link in this game. Is he in Majora's Mask, in A Link to the Past? I think I've lost some of you because you haven't played the game. It's okay, don't worry about it. But it was also a great way to get help from other people. If I was ever stuck on a level, they would be the first people to reach out and help me. So here with games, I was starting to realize that a community could form around a common interest. It didn't matter where you lived, it didn't matter how different you were, if you had an accent, how you identified, because you had something to bring you together. And I also started to realize that communities could have shared values. The people that I met through this group, they were welcoming, they were kind, and this was something that united them all together. So then came online gaming. This game, not a lot of people might know, but instead of just playing it on a device, you could now play it on the computer, which could also bring you online to other people. This was Neopets. This was a very silly, magical world where you had pets that you could battle with, you could own your own shop, and then you had to figure out what type of prices you could have to be competitive. There were also stocks. You could buy stocks in this game online. And there were also guilds. So guild was like a forum. It had different membership levels. So there were people that were just beginning, starting out, and then there were the more experienced members. There were also people who had achieved a lot, so they had a really high ranking. The guild also had guidelines. So I started to notice, okay, successful communities often have some type of support or some type of guidelines, so everyone stays together. So maybe not everyone knows Neopets, but you might know World of Warcraft. I personally have not played this game, but I know a lot of people who do. I even knew people that got married to someone that they met through this game. So it just goes to show you that your online friends, your online relationships can also be very strong. So this one's a little embarrassing. I mentioned that I loved The Lion King. So of course, I was a community member of the Lion King community. I actually checked it out recently to get this picture. It's still alive and running. So here we were sharing fan art, fan fiction. We were sharing the latest information about The Lion King. And the reason why I want to bring this up to you is because it truly does not matter what common interest you might have with others. There's probably a community out there for it. I heard that last year at dreamOlé, Holly Firestone, I don't know if anyone came to the conference, she made a group for Manchego cheese lovers. So truly anything could be a community. This next one is LiveJournal. So it doesn't exactly sound like a community. It sounds like it's a place where you can write on a journal, maybe you can write your blog or a diary. And that's what most people used it for. But within the site, there were also friends. You could have a feed. If you were friends with your friends, and then you could also see the content that they were creating. And there were also communities, so you could search people by what they wrote, by category, or by the type of community that they were a part of. The communities in LiveJournal also had different membership roles. So with LiveJournal, I was seeing that a community could also come together to create. In this case, they were creating content, or to also share ideas. And back to gaming again. I think we're sensing a common theme here. This was a Game Boy Color that I had. It's actually the same exact color. It's this transparent purple kind of case. I don't know if others remember the big Macintosh computers that were orange, like lime green, really fun colors. It was all the rage back then. So on here, I played a game called Pokemon Blue. Some of you might recognize Pokemon because your kids watch it. Maybe you were a fan, maybe you know the games from the anime. But through this, I always had a group of people that I would hang out with. I had my little community of Pokemon players. And back then, you really needed to, because if you actually wanted to beat the game, you needed other people. See, there was this whole complicated system of cables if you wanted to trade Pokemon, if you wanted to complete your Pokedex. And a Pokedex is just a list of all the animals, like the Pokemon that you have to catch. So it was really, really hard. But fast forward to today, so we're jumping back to 2019, 2018, there was Pokemon Go. So now all of a sudden, everyone had this game on their phone. I don't know how popular it was here in Spain, but I know it was. Okay, so same in the US. It was really, really popular. Everyone was playing it. Your mom was playing it, your grandma was playing it. The people that said they would never play it were all of a sudden playing it. And of course, it's died down a little bit, but it's still really popular. And one of the things that the company, Niantic Labs, who created the game, does is that they organize these things called community days. So in a community day, you go to a central location. Any player can come and play. And usually you're trying to accomplish goals together. So you might be trying to beat a gym with your Pokemon, or you might be trying to catch a lot of these creatures. So here, I was starting to see that a community could evolve over time. And if a community is healthy, if it's thriving, it should be evolving to catch up with the times. I was also seeing that communities could be both online and offline. So far we've covered online communities, but this one was offline, having in-person events. So you might be wondering, what does a community look when you're not just having fun, but it's in a professional setting? So this is a group that I'm a part of at Salesforce. It's called Latino Force. It's one of our employee resource groups. And this is a mission-driven group. So this is a group of Salesforce employees who want to advocate for the Latino population and also drive visibility for this population. It's a group that's given me a lot of friendships. I've gotten to meet some really awesome people through this group. And it's also something that means something, you know? You're not just in a group with people who like a common thing, but you're trying to accomplish something that matters. These are people who want to make an impact in the world. But also, this community is not just for us, so it's also part of the Trailblazer community. In this top picture, you might see some people that you recognize. There's some Salesforce MVPs, community group leaders, and even organizers of dreamOlé. And this was taken at our Dreamforce Fiesta. Has anyone been to Dreamforce here? Okay, hopefully more of you next year. But this is an event that we throw for our Hispanic and Latino customers, and also for our allies and employees join too. So if you're at Dreamforce and you ever feel like you need a place to be, you know, entre amigos, entre familia, you want to speak in Spanish and Portuguese, you want to dance a little cumbia, salsa, whatever you want, then consider this your official invitation to join us. So we've covered Community 101 so far. Hopefully, as I was going through these examples, you were all thinking of communities that you've been a part of. Maybe you were able to recognize if they were based around a mission, a purpose, or a common interest. Now we're going to get a little more advanced, okay? We're going to talk about influencers and brand ambassadors. So these are examples of 3 influencers. And an influencer is someone who has a very large following. They can have thousands, they can have millions, and they're redefining the things that we purchase. They're redefining what we think, and they're also, setting new trends. This first new influencer, she's from Spain. She's a ballet dancer. I'm not sure if any of you know her. The second influencer is Michelle Fan. She started off by filming makeup tutorials on YouTube back before no one was doing it, so she kind of started this trend. Eventually, she had so many subscribers that makeup companies were reaching out to her for deals. And she even got so big that now she has her own makeup line. This third influencer, her name is Gabby. She is a fashion and body positivity influencer. What she did that was really special was that she created this whole swimsuit line and fashion line for people who were size 14 and up. This is US sizes. I don't actually know what they would translate to here, but for plus size people. She wanted to create clothes that were cute, that were fashionable, and back then not a lot of people were doing that. Companies didn't think that it was worth it. So of course she showed them that it was really successful and that she made a lot of money. So that's why you now see stores selling more sizes. So this goes to show you that influencers make an impact. They can be very, very successful. But their fans, their following, it's not a community, right? So let's go over another example. Who knows Taylor Swift? Yeah, okay. A lot of us like her, a lot of us hate her, a lot of us don't want to listen to her music. But we can't deny she is a household name. She is very popular. So she has the following. She also had the money, she had the team, and her team wanted to launch this app. It was going to be called the Swift Life app. And it was going to be a place where all of her fans could talk, she could interact with them, and they could get special promotions. So okay, here we had everything set up for success, right? We had the following, we had a platform, and we had support. So what ended up happening? It got shut down. So why did it get shut down? What ended up happening was that they had this platform, this community, that wasn't being moderated, so no one was making sure that the guidelines were being followed. Instead of having a community where people were excited to talk to each other, to talk about Taylor Swift and her songs and her concerts, there was actually a lot of hate being thrown around, and no one was there to control it. So I bring this up because the point here being is that having an audience alone does not make a community. An audience is what's happening right now. I'm talking to many of you, but a community is an interwoven net of different relationships. So it's me talking to you, you're talking to 3 people, they're talking to 7 people, and it's going on at the same time. So those are influencers. Brand ambassadors, we probably are familiar with this as a marketing thing. They are influencers for a certain brand or for a company. Sometimes companies hire them, sometimes they work with influencers, but they're not a community either. They're just people who really love a company and who are setting a trend. However, there can be brand ambassador communities. So companies like Adidas or Lululemon have a community for all of their brand ambassadors to share ideas and to talk to each other. All right. So far, we have talked a lot about the communities that we have been a part of. We've covered some more complicated topics of brand ambassadors and influencers. So I want to take a breather here and summarize it. So we've learned that a community can form around common interests or a common purpose. We've learned that a community has members that care about each other. We've learned that a community needs supports and guidelines in order to be healthy and to live. We've learned that a community can have members with different roles, so there's different member roles. We've learned that a community can create and also share ideas. And a community can have a core set of values. A community can evolve over time, and it should. And a community is not an audience. So again, I ask, what is a community? Let's think about it. So we could define it by what we just learned. We could say what it is or what it's not. But I think we're a little bit more comfortable now with each other, right? We've known each other for a good 30 minutes. I think we could get a little deeper, more emotional. So something that has allowed us to create and evolve over time has been our ability to think, right? But our ability to think has also filled us with this huge dread. We ask ourselves these questions like, who am I? What's my purpose? Where do I belong? What's the point of things? And philosophers have spent their whole life trying to figure this out. So have scientists. And I'm not a philosopher. I'm definitely not a scientist. But I think I found an answer. Or at least I want to propose one to all of you. I think the answer is community. A community gives you a place to belong. A community gives you a purpose. And in this way, a community can change your life. Great. So what brings us all together here in this room? I asked a couple of folks on Twitter to share with me some of the statements that they could relate to, whether they were Salesforce admins, Salesforce developers, or Salesforce architects. And they had a lot to say. There were a lot of responses. So I want to share some of them with you. And if you agree with them, if you think they're funny, if you want to snap, if you want to clap, whatever you want to do to react is totally fine with me. So you have spent time rearranging a flow just to give it a better visual appeal. You have seen a validation rule bring an org to its knees. You tried to tempt more than one taxi driver into the Salesforce Ohana, the ecosystem, by talking about the career. You've hovered your finger over a mouse button, your finger was shaking, you had a lot of sweat coming down before deciding to click submit in a certification exam. You have earned a plushie or a stuffed animal at a Salesforce conference. You have attended a user group meeting. You have attended a community conference. That's all of us here today. You have deployed a change set. You have actually bought Steve-Mo a beer. Does anyone know Steve-Mo here? Yes? Does anyone actually owe him a beer? Yes? I think I do too. I think I owe him a six-pack for helping everyone so much. Don't tell him that, though. You are chronically disappointed that taking selfies and giving each other big hugs isn't normal outside of the Salesforce world. You have caught a deployment fish. You have a Salesforce screw-up story, something like deleting 500 contacts or maybe accidentally emailing the whole org. Hide it. Don't think about it. You have at least one, but probably more, favorite Salesforce podcast. You have reset a user password, and maybe you've done it 4 times for the same person on the same day. You have Googled something, 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 Salesforce, something, enter. You plan family vacations around community conferences like DreamOlé or Midwest Streaming. That's a lot of people. And you collect stuffed animals and stickers. You probably have even more than you did when you were a kid. So it's clear that these statements bring us together. We have shared experiences, and we go through a lot of the things that we all do here in this room. And this makes us part of the Trailblazer community. We've learned so far that the Trailblazer community has everything that a community needs to be a healthy and thriving community. There are different ways to engage. You can meet other people. You can meet them online, offline. The community has definitely evolved over time. And it's a community filled with people who care about each other. So as a community manager, part of my role is to support the programs that help all of you make these connections. But what does it look like in real life? So I want to talk about some of the people that have been influenced by the Trailblazer community. This is Sandy. I first heard her story at a Trailblazer community campfire. For anyone that hasn't been to a campfire, it used to be a theater at our corporate events where community members could share their stories. And Sandy talked about what she went through when she had brain surgery. She used to be a music teacher, but after the surgery, she could no longer teach. So she found Trailhead, she skilled up, and she became a Salesforce admin, and now she has a global family through the Trailblazer community. She is now a community group leader, and she's recently been made a Salesforce MVP. And this next story I love to share, especially with people who don't think they can get into the Salesforce ecosystem. They think it's too hard, and they think it's not for them. So Aaron was someone who had never heard of Salesforce before. He found Trailhead, he started learning, and eventually he also landed a career as a Salesforce admin. But through that whole journey, through that whole year, he always had the support of people in the Trailblazer community, whether it was helping him through a badge or a module or like helping him with his job search, he had that support. So there are a lot of ways to engage. Some of you might already know these programs, you might already be heavily involved, but I wanted to go ahead and share them with you so you know how you can interact. You can meet Trailblazers like you, so other customers. You can meet them at one of 800 community group meetings. How many people here are community group leaders? Raise your hand. OK, so take a look around the room. If you have any questions about community groups, what they are, you can definitely reach out to them. But these are completely customer-led. So the content is not created by Salesforce. It's not going to be full of marketing. It's actually going to be helpful to all of you. We also have community conferences. So we've talked about these quite a lot, but there are now over 30 community conferences. You can definitely plan your family vacations around them. You can also get support. So each month, we have about 4,000 questions and answers. So if you've ever been struggling with something, chances are there's already an answer for it in the community. And if there's not, ask it. All questions are answered on the community. You can also join one of 10,000 active chatter groups. So these are slightly different than community groups. They're not based around a city or around a job role or an industry. They can really be based around anything. They can be based around your company, something that you're passionate about cheese, really about anything. So you can join as many chatter groups as you want. You can also inspire the next generation. So if you're sitting here and you're someone who has already been in the ecosystem for a very long time, you have a lot of knowledge, you consider yourself an expert, then you can get back through Trailhead for Students. You can also mentor a student group. And if there's not a student group near you, you can definitely connect with universities that are near you in your city and help start one. And there's also a way for you to become a multiplier. So this is a program called BAM. It's completely powered by Trailhead content, and it's going to empower you to host workshops to your company, your family, really whoever you want to get into the ecosystem. And you can also learn from each other. So I actually want to invite someone to talk about Salesforce MVPs. Is that OK? OK, let's welcome Laura. So Laura, we didn't rehearse this at all, right? I just asked you. What would you say that a Salesforce MVP is?
So a Salesforce MVP, you have different types of being a Salesforce MVP. So you can either be like really good technical and write like amazing blog posts and like be the best top architect or anything, or you could just, well, not just, it's a lot. You could also participate with the community and go to events and help people answering questions and just also advocating and getting people started to, hey, well, you live in, let's say, El Hoyo de Pinares. I mean, it's my village, you know, I need to promote. So let's say you live there in El Hoyo de Pinares and you say, like, here there is only pine trees, but I want to have a community. So you say, instead of going to Madrid or to wherever, I'm going to start my own community. And that is the kind of things that the Salesforce MVPs we also do. And of course, we also like to have fun. So it's always very, very fun. And for me, honestly, the community and the trip to be a Salesforce MVP was a life changer. I was in living in France, starting a new job. Nobody was actually, I mean, our stories are a bit similar. So I moved to France, I was not really speaking French properly, and at work nobody spoke to me. And I'm a social person, man. I was struggling. And then I reached out to the community, and these people didn't mind if I was not speaking French. They were even reaching in English, and that was like, wow. I want to be here. And that was by another Salesforce MVP, Jean-Michel. I don't know if he's here, so thank you so much for Jean-Michel. And that was just amazing. So that's what being a Salesforce MVP and just speaking to people and get them know where to find the information and reaching out to other people maybe.
And how many people do we have here today that are local to Spain? Raise your hand. Okay, so in Spain, what do you think is what are some of the best ways to get in touch with Salesforce MVPs if they need help?
I mean, we have a lot lately. So I want to actually, Julio and Pedro, please say hi. So we have 2 new Salesforce MVPs, please. And the best way is either if you happen to be lucky enough to live close to where they live and they are also community leaders, just reach out to them. Or otherwise, we are in Twitter, we are in also LinkedIn sometimes, not that much. And in the Salesforce community, of course, in the Trailblazer community. So the best way is to go to the Trailblazer community and just write to us. And we are busy people, but we'll try to get back to you when we have the time. But it's pretty easy, right? Or even drop us an email, I mean, like many, many ways.
Thank you. And Josh, I'm going to ask you up next to talk about office hours. Thank you, Laura. So Josh, what are Salesforce MVP office hours?
All right, so Salesforce MVP office hours. First, let me ask a question. How many folks in the audience are a Salesforce admin by themselves, just a Salesforce admin of one, right? Okay, great. So MVP office hours is a forum where solo admins at different organizations can actually attend a bi-weekly call or a monthly call to actually get support from the community. So many individuals are out there just working on Salesforce, just a member of one, and there are also other ways to engage. There's the Trailblazer community, there's Twitter, there's the Salesforce hashtag. But what I found is that that's having a transactional conversation. I actually have to submit a message and then wait for a response. But sometimes it's important to have a dialogue with the other person. And so I created this thing called MVP Office Hours where people can dial into a conversation and actually ask questions and get answers back in real time, which is a lot more fun and engaging, rather than waiting for Steve Mo to respond to my answer, my idea. So that's how MVP Office Hours started.
That's a pretty smart idea. You came up with that?
You guys should definitely attend. Does anyone know about MVP Office Hours in Espanol? Do you want to talk about it? Do you know when the next one is? All right. So actually, since then, MVP Office Hours has gone global, and there's actually MVP Office Hours in Spanish. So if you want to be able to check out when the next MVP Office Hours is for this reason, check out the Trailblazer community. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Josh. So Salesforce MVPs are folks who have been awarded the title of Salesforce MVP because of their generous contributions. This can be because they're writing great blog posts, they're helping people through MVP office hours, they're answering questions on Twitter, maybe they've even written books, maybe they're on the Stack Exchange. They're just people who really devote their time and their expertise and knowledge to help others in the Salesforce community. So I think we gathered that not a lot of people have come to Dreamforce or Trailhead DX, so I want to talk a little bit about this picture up here. This is a picture of our gratitude tree. It's a tree that was located in the Trailblazer Community Cove. It's a place where anyone in the community can come at one of our corporate events to engage with the community. The gratitude tree was a place where people could take 5 to 10 minutes to take a breather, stop from walking so much all over the Dreamforce campus or Trailhead DX campus, and really reflect. So they had time to think about things that they were grateful for. And they could have been grateful for anything. They could have been grateful for there being no line at the coffee in the morning when they really needed some caffeine. They could have been grateful for winning the lottery, for anything really. But to no surprise, a lot of the cards were showing gratitude towards someone in the Salesforce ecosystem. I spent a lot of time here, so naturally I got to read a lot of these note cards. And some of them were really, really impactful. I was actually shocked that people were getting so personal in them. One of the cards said, you know, who knew that online friends could actually be in-person friends? Thank you so much for being there when my mother passed away. Someone said, I couldn't have passed my certification exam if it hadn't been for your morning test every day, encouraging me to do well and for also helping me study the material. And one of them also said, I was laid off, I didn't have a job, I felt so hopeless until you introduced me to Salesforce. I now have a career, and I don't feel that way anymore, thanks to you. So there was a lot of gratitude in this tree. And it's completely different to hear about it than just to see it, because this tree was filled with note cards. It was jam-packed. But then I started to think about the other side of things. You know, we saw the gratitude, but we weren't seeing the people that were doing these things. We weren't seeing the people who were helping others study, who were helping each other through tough times, even through happy times. We weren't seeing the people that were making an impact. And I realized that the other side of things was generosity. It was people being generous with their time, with their expertise, with their knowledge, with what they were sharing with others to help each other succeed and really thrive. So I found that generosity is the one thing that really sets the Trailblazer community apart from other communities in the tech industry. Because we're not the only community that has user groups or conferences or support help or questions. A lot of communities have that, and a lot of communities do it really well. But the Trailblazer community has something that others don't, and it's the generosity that all of you have to help each other. There aren't people who say, I'm not going to help that person because they're a competitor, and if I help them, they're going to do better. There's none of that. There's not people that say, I'm not going to answer that question because it's not worth my time. Like, why would I answer that? I'm not getting anything out of it. People are generally wanting to help each other and lift each other up. And speaking of generosity, we already congratulated some of the new Salesforce MVPs, but there were a total of 3 new Salesforce MVPs from Spain, so I thought that would be something that you could all be very proud of. They were very recently awarded in April 2nd, so actually 10 days ago. So if you're here in the room, please stand up or wave. Let's go ahead and congratulate them. And other individuals who are also incredibly generous are the dreamOlé team, the organizers. They have spent the whole year planning this event for all of you. They're not getting paid for this. They do this because they are genuinely passionate about helping the Spanish community. This is their 3rd year, and it's hard enough to just plan one conference that goes well. But now this is the 3rd time, and they really are doing this for all of you. So, you know, if you can, let's please congratulate you. Thank you so much. They're going to be running around all day today, but if you do see them, please thank them. This is not an easy thing to do at all, and they're pulling it off in such a great way. So I want to leave you with 6 simple actions that you can take after the conference to get involved in the Trailblazer community. You can earn your Trailblazer Community Groups badge. So this is a badge on Trailhead where you can learn more about all the programs that I went over. So if you want to learn more about student groups, about community groups, or community conferences, it's all explained in this badge. You can also get engaged on the online community. So if you did want to join a chatter group, if you did want to ask questions, go to trailblazer.salesforce.com. You can also join a community group. And if there's not a community group near you, guess what? you can start one. We're always looking for more community groups to pop up, and we have a lot of resources to help you get started. You can also get to know one or many of our 200 Salesforce MVPs. And this site will actually let you filter by product. So if there's a specific product that you need help with, and also by location. So there might already be some Salesforce MVPs near you. You can also connect with us, so with my team, on the Trailblazer Community Corner chatter group. If you have any questions, if you want to say hi, whatever it is that you need from us, we're here in this group. And finally, you can find or become a mentor for someone else on the Mentorship Central. So this is a group that pairs up mentors with mentees, and they can be anyone that's looking for help in their career or through some Salesforce questions and they want to get better. I saw some people taking pictures. This is being recorded, so don't worry. But you can take the picture. I'll stop. OK. Well, with that, I want to thank all of you again for being here today. I want to thank the organizers for planning such an amazing conference. And I want to encourage all of you to be generous with your time. Be generous with the time that you spend with each other. Be generous with your expertise and knowledge. And really go out there and help each other. But besides that, get ready for a full day of learning, of meeting new people, and of having fun. So again, welcome to dreamOlé.